Just tell me what you need. It's all right here, yeah, in Detroit. Don't matter what it is, it's all right here. Oh.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
There's no greater honor than to have a work, especially as an artist, be in the Detroit Institute of Arts. I mean, it's a world-renowned museum. To know as a student that I would visit here frequently, and then now to have work here is pretty incredible. You know, and I pinch myself daily.
So Jenny, I'm so excited to be here at your D-Cyphered exhibit at the DIA. You want to show me through the exhibit?
Yes, welcome Sheila.
Perfect.
D-Cyphered is an exhibit that I spent 3 years working on. And actually my first picture was Trick Trick.
That's this one here?
Yes. First and foremost, this is a photography exhibit. So the flow of the photographs have to make sense together. In many cases, we just did what photographs look best, you know, that complemented each other.
Sure. How many pictures total?
There's 81 photographs total in the exhibit. I actually did 100, but the original wish list was 50. And then as I went along, it was very hard to narrow it down because there's so many people that are so important. I had always been a fan of like rock and roll and Motown, and noticed a lot of those photographs were in museum archives, but hip hop is not. So I thought creating this bodywork would be a valuable asset. And I've always been inspired by Detroit. A journalist that interviewed me for Heart Soul Detroit, a book I did a couple years ago, had said a quote about Detroit has a way of calling their children home. I think this magnet, I don't know exactly what it is, but you can't deny the power of Detroit. For me, it's like a muse. Like all my projects have been Detroit-centered. Because for me, I find there's so much magic and wonder here in the city, and as an artist, I just want to capture that some way. I wanted it to feel like Detroit. I wanted it to feel like the artists. And I also wanted to show our city that hadn't really been seen. For a photographer, there's no better genre of music to photograph, because it's such a fun group of people to photograph because they're creative, they get it, you know, they get the artistic license, the process. So they want to make the best picture possible. Detroit's hip hop is really unique in the fact that it takes from a lot of different genres. Like it takes from, you know, funk, it takes from Motown, it takes from techno. I think because of that, Detroit has a more eclectic, kind of unique sound. I'm an advertising and commercial photographer, so I'm very used to producing shoots. So for these shots, they may look simple, but there's actually a lot of thought. You know, you have to think about the location, coordinating with the artist's time. You know, how do you want them to look in their portrait? Like, is it, you know, their clothing styling? If it's women, it's like the hair and the makeup, and even the men, like what hat do I wear? The car culture in Detroit's so important. So, you know, getting the right American car to the decade. So there's a lot of little things that kind of, you know, it's just part of the production. It wasn't a stretch to do this.
Okay. Are you still in the meantime doing your commercial and advertising photography?
Oh yeah, I have to, because that's what funds these passion projects. I didn't receive a grant or anything to do this work, or generally any of my passion projects I don't, just because the grant process is such a long process. I always feel like by the time I get the grant, I could have been done with the work. So I really approached this exhibit more academic. I really became a student of hip hop, which was pretty incredible. So, you know, not only as an artist learning about hip hop, I learned a lot about race and the political kind of, I guess, arena that this music lives in. Only when you delve into projects like this, it's like you're throwing yourself into like this new world.
Tell me about this, who these people are, what it means, how you had the vision to pull this picture together.
If I were to have few pictures of women in this exhibit, I was going to have the strongest ones possible.
Sure, absolutely.
So I thought you couldn't really get any stronger than women activists, or just women in general. Because for me, like, I don't think there's anything more beautiful or powerful as a group of women standing together for the common cause of something positive. The Black Lives Matter, this was important for me to do too, because I felt like it was the contrast of eras, where this is of today and this is from the 60s. And really it's, in a sense, it's like the same argument, the same problem, but just in a different time. Art is reflective of the times, so it's important to do that as an artist, to make sure your art is reflective of the era that you document.
Absolutely.
During this process, I wanted the pictures to feel like the artist, so I asked them, like, where would you like your picture taken and why? And I really worked with the person, as how they would like their photograph taken. So I feel like together we created something for Detroit that's very representative of the city.